Welcome back to Charming Data, everybody. I hope you had a good week. Last week, I showed you how to create an app and upload it to the web using Heroku. In that app, we had a pie chart. This week, I'm going to show you how to create and manipulate the Sunburst. The Sunburst is similar to the pie chart in that it has different slices, but it's still different because a Sunburst is often used as a method of displaying tree structural data that expands outwards. A sunburst is also called sometimes a radial tree map or a radial tree or radial map. You'll see it a lot in the data visualization world. So today, I'm going to show you all about the sunburst. I'm going to show you how to create the root, how to create the branches that are usually the second, third, or fourth level, and then how to create the leaves that are always the last level of the sunburst. So we're going to look at the root. Here we have the root of unarmed, the category of unarmed victims. We're also going to look into changing the root. Now I'm looking at fleeing or not fleeing. And another example is the gender. We're not looking at fleeing anymore. Now it's a different root. I'm also going to show you how to create a level. So now we have two branches, gender and state. We have the root, which is unarmed or armed. And we have the leaves that are gender. And then we're going to see how to limit the number of branches or levels that we have. So in this case, we have 4 levels, but I'm limiting it so the user can only see 2 levels at a time. I'm also going to show you how to create a legend, which is a color scale, that represents another variable. So instead of creating 4 different levels here, with the age being the 4th level, here I'm creating, or the leaves, here I'm creating 3 levels, 1, 2, and 3, and the 4th is going to be the 4th variable, the victim's age, is going to be on a color scale. So it's easy to see, the darker the color, the higher the average age for those victims. So you can see in California, white victims tend to be in their 40s, while in California, the black victims tend to be in their lower 30s. So I'll show you how to create this, and all this in under like 30 lines of code. It's very easy with Python and Poly. I'm also going to show you how to create this kind of diagram, which is also referred to as a flow chart. I'm also going to show you how to create the change template, add a title, and then play around with the hover. You see how the hover has bolded title to it. And lastly, I'm going to show you how to play around with the text and the percentage inside of each level. This is something you can change with 1 or 2 lines of code. It's very easy. And this last tab I'm not going to show you because it's at the very end. Just make sure to watch the video all the way to the end if you can. We'll go over this. This is a piece of practice challenge that I'm giving you so you can practice all the documentation that I'm going to give you and all the code that I'm going to show you so you can get better at it and you won't depend only on what I show you right here. I'm also going to share the code with you, the code that I'm creating for every single one of these sunbursts, and I'm going to share the code with you for the challenge that I hope you solve at the very end. All right, so let's get started. The data I'm going to use is relevant to our times. It's data from the mappingpoliceviolence.com, I think. I'll share it with you under the video, so just make sure to open all the links under the video so you can follow along. We're going to import this data into a pandas data frame, and we're going to focus on 5 or 6 different columns. We're going to focus on the victim's age. These are all the victims from 2013 to 2019, 7 years, that were shot and killed by the police. So that we have their names here. We're going to focus on this column with their age, their gender, their race, and we're going to look at their unarmed category. We're going to see if they're allegedly armed or unarmed, or maybe they had a vehicle. So remember, this category is unarmed. And we're going to see whether they were fleeing or not fleeing or unknown. So that is what we're going to look into. Again, this is under the video, so make sure to open that. And we're going to focus on this code. So open the code below the video and let's start doing this together. So the first thing you want to do is you want to import all your libraries to make this work. I'm importing Plotly Express, Pandas, and NumPy because that is what I need. We're going to read the CSV document into a Pandas data frame. I'm only going to change the victim's age, it is a string in this case. I'm going to change it to numeric, to an integer. And all those that are empty, I'm just going to put 0 in there instead of a nan value. I'm going to put a 0 in there. And I'm just going to change this column name from fleeing source Wapu to the name fleeing, so it doesn't sound so ridiculous. Okay, and then we are going to only plot these states: New York, California, and Texas. There are 50 states, so you can plot any other state you want in this database. And we are only going to plot these races: white, black, Hispanic, and Asian, instead of, I think there's unknown and there's a couple more, but I'm only going to stick to 4. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to call the method plotlyexpress.sunburst. Now, where do I get this from? This is all in the documentation. I'm going to show you the documentation right now. Please, please, please download it and make sure you know where the website is, so you can always go back to that, because knowing how to read the documentation will do a lot for you. You will be able to do many, many things if you know how to read the documentation. So the documentation is right here, Plotly Express. I'll share this link, and this is the Sunburst method, and here are all the parameters. We're going to go over most of the parameters, or at least half of them, so you know how to manipulate all that you can do with the Sunburst. Go into this link as well. This is the Sunburst charts in Python, and this will give you all the different examples of how you can create different sunbursts. Sometimes you can I'll just take the code from here and I'll just copy paste my own thing, because this is the kind of sunburst that I want to create. So sometimes it makes it a lot easier with these examples that you can see. All right, let's jump back into the code. So the first parameter we're going to use is obviously the data frame. That's going to be the df, which is right here. And then I'm going to use the path. The path represents the different levels. So the first level is going to be the root. The second level is going to be the branches. And the last level is going to be the leaf, or the leaves. Now here I have only 3, so I only have 1 branch. But if I had 5 different levels, then you would have 1 root, 3 branches, and 1 leaf, or 1 level of leaves. Okay. I'm also going to color I'm going to use unarmed category and color that one in this color scale, and then we'll go over the max depth last. So with this code alone, this is what it creates. If you want to create 3 different levels, the first level is going to be the unarmed category. Don't confuse unarmed with unarmed here. Unarmed is the category title right here. That's the column in the pandas data frame. Within this column, you have the value that's also unarmed, but they're 2 different things. Okay, so to create this chart with the root, branch, and leaves, where you have unarmed, state, and victim's race, you use this code. Only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameters inside the Sunburst. You close it here, and then we'll go over this at the end, and then you just show the fig, and that's it. Voila, you got it, and the Sunburst is created. The next Sunburst we're going to see how to create is we're going to see how to change the root. So instead of unarmed or armed, we're going to see if they're fleeing or not fleeing. And yes, so we'll go into here. All you have to do is use this fleeing new column name, and instead of unarmed as the root, let's put fleeing here, and the color is going to be based on fleeing. So that's all you have to do. You put that, you run it, and this is what you get. You get a different root. And it's kind of cool because you can go in there and see that. Let's say go into foot, see all those that were fleeing by foot. In California, you see that the Hispanics are almost 50% of the victims were Hispanics that were fleeing by foot, while in California, Hispanics are only 24% that are fleeing by foot. So I really like these levels and how you can open it up and see more and more data as you learn. The last thing we're going to do in this root to change, we're going to change the gender. So go into here. Now you have to put inside of fleeing, you got to put the gender. Now I don't remember how the gender is called, so you can do 2 things. You can either go into the Excel sheet and see how it's called, which is right here, the victim's gender, this is the name, or just go back to your code and just do something like print df columns, and this will give you the column name. Just make sure to put exit so it doesn't run everything, and this will give you the column names. So we'll put here the victim's gender. Just erase this, make it faster, like this. And the color code also is gender. And if you run this, you should get this exact sunburst diagram. You can see that 94% are male that have been police victims. From those male, you can see that majority are in California, probably because there's a bigger population, so more deaths or by police there. And then there's a breakdown here. So kind of cool. Here, I'm going to show you how to add another level. So you remember, you see how we had 3 levels before? Now we're going to add another branch here in the middle. I'm sorry, we're going to add the 4th level, which is going to be the gender. So instead of a gender in the root, we're going to have a gender at the end. So to do that, all you have to do is go back to the very beginning, Control Z, where we had unarmed, unarmed, and then right here, you'll have the victim's gender. That's all you need to do. This will mean that now you have 1 root, 2 branches, and 1 level of leaves, which is the last level, which is the gender. Okay. All right. The next thing we're going to see is how to limit the number of levels or number of sectors that the user can see. So here I can only see 2. You see I have allegedly armed in California. But if I click on California, I can see also another 2, California and Hispanic or race. If I click on Hispanic, I can see another 2, race and gender, but I can't click anymore. So I can only see 2 at a time. To do that, all you have to do is use this parameter, max depth. So instead of -1, -1 means that will render all, see what it says here, will render all levels in the hierarchy. So instead of putting 10 or 20, just put -1 and it'll give everything. But if you only want 2, then you just put 2. If you do that, you will get this diagram. It will probably, by default, it will load like this. So you only see 2 levels at a time. All right. The next diagram, or the sunburst we want to see, is a color scale with the age. So here, remember this chart where I had 4 levels: unarmed, state, race, and gender. Or let's say instead of gender, we have age. Now, what if I don't want 4 levels because it's just too many levels to see and I don't want to confuse the user too much? So instead of putting the 4th level as age, I will just go and say, I want the age to be the color-coded in the sunburst. So now I still have 3 levels, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And instead of the 4th level, I have age as a color. And now it's kind of cool because I can see with my eyes, and this color is very easy to see, that the darker colors are ages that are higher in average than lighter colors. So say, for example, California and vehicles, those that were fleeing by vehicle, if you go to California, the Hispanics medium age level is 24. There were only 30, you see the count 30 Hispanics that were killed in California by police in the last 7 years, but their age was 24 years old. So, and the darker ones, you see that it's 35 or older age groups. It's very, very neat to be able to see everything. This is very sad data, unfortunately, but it's neat to be able to see everything with that variable with the eyes alone and with the color, instead of seeing so many different levels. To create this sunburst, all you have to do is you have to, let's bring this back to -1, you have to use this. Okay. Now I'm using this color parameter again, so make sure to hashtag this out because you don't want color twice, here and here. All right. So instead of using unarmed in the color parameter, now the color parameter is going to be victim's age. I'll make sure, let's get this back to only 3 levels. Okay, so it's going to be the victim's age is the color, and we're going to use this sequential color library or scale, and we're going to use this range color. Range color is the range of the color that I want. Where do I want the color to start from? So I'm saying from 10 to 100 because I know that's the age group. There are some 0 and some 1-year-old babies and 2-year-old babies because they were killed, unfortunately, in their house. But here I want it to start from 10. Right here down below, you see, I don't want it to start from 0. I want it to start from 10 and go all the way up to 100. So that's how you can play around with the range of any color scale that you put up there. This color code, you can choose from the Plotly documentation. I'm also going to share with you below the video. It is right here. Make sure to go to built-in continuous colors. And I took this from sequential, Plotly color sequential, and I called it, this is what it's called, BUGN. Make sure to capitalize everything. And this is the color scale that we got here. This is sequential. Remember before when we used, I think it was purple and other colors, when we used this, we used discrete sequence, which is another parameter, and we use qualitative pastel colors. This you can find in a different web page, which is right here, discrete colors, because we were plotting, color coding discrete variables instead of continuous. And then you go down below, and you'll see I use pastel colors. And these are the first 4 colors because there's only 4 variables that are showing up on the map when I use pastel. Okay, but this was the other one. So this is how you create these kind of color codes if you want to play around with the color. All right, so the next graph is going to be how to create a sunburst that has like a flowchart diagram. To do that, all you have to do is, let's close this out. Bring this back to how it was, and all you have to do is the branch values, instead of total, just put remainder. All right, like this. Save this, run it, and that's how you're going to get that flow chart. If you want to go more into the remainder or that parameter and what it means, go down here and just go to the branch values parameter, and here it explains exactly, especially these 2 sentences, explaining exactly what that flowchart looks like or what it means when you put remainder instead of total. Okay, right here. Also, you can see it here in this main documentation I shared in the beginning. Going down below, you'll see branch values and you'll see remainder. That's another way of creating a different style of sunburst. The next chart we're going to look is how to create the template, how to play around with the title, and change the hover. You see how the hover has an highlighted allegedly armed at the very top, or highlighted race at the very, allegedly armed. So just go in here. I'm going to change this back to total, which is the default. And actually, let's close this out. And we're going to change the hover name. Hover name is unarmed, and this is what makes it bold when you do the tooltip. And we're also going to change all of this right here. So now the title is what I wanted it to be, 7-year breakdown of deaths by police. The template, I'm going to use ggplot. There's different templates here. You can use any one you want. Go ahead and play around with it. And this is how you create this beautiful chart. Oh, make sure that, almost forgot, that you hashtag this out, because this makes the chart a lot bigger. If you're going to use templates, just make sure to hashtag this out because it won't work with this in there. You won't see the title. All right, so this is how you create this chart. Now, you see how the hover is highlighted at the very top? Because it's highlighted and you see allegedly armed, you don't necessarily want the unarmed equals allegedly armed, the second line. To get rid of that second line, make sure you have Plotly version 4.8.0 or higher, because I only have right now, I did not install in time for this video, 4.8. I only have 4.7, so I cannot do this. But this would be the code if you wanted to take that line or that column out of the tooltip. Just say which column you want to take out and just say false inside your dictionary with the hover data template, and that unarmed category will not be in the tooltip. So the second line here, the unarmed, will not be there anymore if you have Plotly 4.8.0 or higher. All right, so we saw how to play around with a template. Now the last thing we're going to do, which is very important to know, it took me a long time to understand how to do this, is manipulate the text or the percentage inside every level. So you see how, let's actually bring this all the way down here, all the way to the beginning. So you see how right now allegedly armed is one value inside the root, and out of this value you have California, Texas, and New York. You have 3 different states, and all of them added up, all the number of deaths in those states added up equal 100%. 8% plus 37 plus 55 equal 100%. We did not have this in the past. In the past, with all the other charts that we did here above, we had this level equal 100%. So California was 37, 25, 5, 10, because this second level, the branch, all added up to 100%. Right? To have this level, what we did equal to 100%, we just kept it at label plus percent entry. Right? This is inside update traces, inside this line of code, text info. Percent entry is what we did. But if we want to allow the user to give a different breakdown, not 100% of the whole level, but a breakdown of the parent. So now the 100% will be like this. The sum of 100% will be for every category. This sums, the blue sums to 100%, the unarmed purple sums to 100%, and each one of them sums to 100%. It's a lot clearer to see the data, and it's a lot easier to compare. So now if I want to compare unarmed, and I want to see California, I can compare California, 47% of Hispanics were unarmed, while in New York, only 18% of Hispanics were unarmed. So in order to do this, in order to see the value add up to 100% according to the parent, all you have to do is change this from percent entry to percent parent. All right. The documentation on this is right here. Go to the figure link that I shared below the video and go into Sunburst. And in Sunburst, you'll see the text info a few lines below. And this is what you can change. Here is, you can do the combination of text, value, plus, or, and then add whatever you want to it. So we played around with percent parent, you can do percent entry, or you can do percent root and see what that gives you. That's a different type of calculation compared to the root. So there you have it. I taught you all about the Sunburst, how to create it, how to manipulate it, and how to play around with it. All in Python in under 30 lines of code. If you like this tutorial, show your support, click the like button, subscribe below, and turn on your notifications for this channel, because every week I'm going to teach you a new data visualization trick and all the things you can do with all the plots and dashboards in pure Python. So as I promised, the challenge. I want you to practice at home a little bit so you can get stronger at this. What I'd like you to do is try to manipulate the data or filter the data so you're only plotting Alabama, Oregon, and South Carolina. Do the root as a state, the branches only put unarmed, and the leaves have them as victim's gender. Then I want you to map the color with male purple and female green yellow. We did not do this in the code in the tutorial, but go into the Plotly Express Sunburst method and you'll see a color mapping parameter that you should use for this. And then make sure you have Plotly 4.8.0 or higher so you can do this last thing. Remove from the tooltip these columns. Remove the victim's gender column, the labels, and the ID. If you do this successfully, you should end up with this beautiful Sunburst that shows you from state to allegedly armed or unarmed and all the way to the breakdown of the gender. Good luck, enjoy the process, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Thank you.